These are solutions to the intermediate algebra practice problems for midterm 1 at MiraCosta. All right, here's the first problem, simplify. So what we have is a quadratic in the numerator and the denominator. So when you have a fraction to simplify, you need to factor both the numerator and the denominator. So let's see, the numerator factors, and of course you can factor lots of different ways, but I'm going to use the trial factors method. So let's see. That'll be a 3 and a 2, a minus and a plus. That would be the correct factors. You might get that on scratch paper, but notice that gives you the right first, outer, inner, last term. And now in the denominator, there's a couple ways to deal with this one. You could simply pull out the greatest common factor, which will be 7x, and that gives you 2 minus x. Okay, so we factored it. Now after you factor, we look to see if there are some common factors. And the trick here is that x minus 2 is the opposite of 2 minus x. In other words, x minus 2 is the same thing as the opposite of 2 minus x. Because if you do your distributive property, notice you get negative 2 plus x, which is x minus 2. So since these are opposites, just like 3 and negative 3 are opposites, when you cancel, you get a negative 1. All right, so what does that give me for my answer? Well, I've got a negative 1 times 5x plus 3. You can write the minus out in front of the fraction bar if you'd like. So that's an acceptable way of writing the answer. Or you can write a negative 1 times 5x plus 3 in the numerator if you'd prefer to do it that way. Or you could distribute the minus 1 and write negative 5x minus 3. So that's number 1. An alternative way of factoring the denominator in the beginning is to factor out a negative 1 first. So if I were going to do this problem a different way, 5x squared minus 7x minus 6 over 14x minus 7x squared. Some people like to rewrite the problem so that it's going descending form, the x squared first. So if I did that, I'd have negative 7x squared plus 14x. And in the numerator, I can factor that because it's already going in descending form. 5x plus 3 times x minus 2. All right, now, so the numerator's factored. Now, what about the denominator? You can either factor out a 7x or a negative 7x. If I factor out a negative 7x, notice that I have x minus 2. So this is another way of factoring, and then you see you can cancel out the x minus 2. They're exactly the same. And you still have this minus sign here, except it's in the denominator. Again, you could write it like you see right here, but it's more common to write the minus sign out in front of the fraction bar, which was how I wrote it the first way I showed it. So look up here. See the negative 5x plus 3 over 7x. So that's a more common way of writing it. Okay, that's number 1. All right, going on to number 2. This is a division problem. So we're going to have to factor all the numerators and denominators, but this division sign, what we're going to do is change that to multiply the reciprocal of this. So we're going to change that to 4x squared minus 1 over 6x squared plus x minus 2. That would be your first step. I realize some people might not write that first step. It might just factor it at this point, but you could. I want to show all the steps here since I'm doing a review. All right, so at this point, now we want to factor everything in the numerator. We can put it all on one big fraction line. So let's see. I'm not sure how it's going to factor. I'm going to try trial factors. Let's see. How about 3 and 2? I think that's it. Again, you can use any method you want to get the correct factors for 6x squared plus 13x plus 6. And we also have to factor 4x squared minus 1. That's a difference of 2 squares. 2x plus 1 times 2x minus 1. Now we have to do the denominators. 4x squared minus 1 is also a difference of 2 squares. That's 2x plus 3 times 2x minus 3. And then we have to factor 6x squared plus x minus 2. Okay, let's see. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but I'm going to try a 3x and a 2x. And let's say I got to get a 2 someplace. I think it's going to be right here. And that'll give you a plus 4x and a minus 3x. I believe that does it. Okay, so now this is the fun part. You see, whatever common factors are, you get a cancel. So I'm going to start with the numerator. Is there a 2x plus 3? Yep, I can cancel right here. How about the 3x plus 2? Yes, I see that could cancel with this. I'll look for a 2x plus 1. There is no 2x plus 1 in the denominator. And how about the 2x minus 1? Oh, here's the 2x minus 1. So remember, when you cancel, those are all ones. If you want, you could write ones. I don't usually write them, but technically when you cancel, remember, those are the factors that are left. And so then we see what's in the numerator and the denominator. Keep in mind, if you've canceled everything in the numerator, there'll still be a 1, because that means 1 times 1 times 1 times 1. But in this case, we do have a 2x plus 1. So what's left is a 2x plus 1 over 2x minus 3. And that's as far as you can go. If you need to, keep the 2x plus 1 in parentheses so that you don't try to cancel the 2's or the x's. Okay, you have to cancel factors that are exactly the same. So that's number 2. Going on to number 3, this is a subtraction problem. And they're fractions. They're rational fractions here. So I have to have a common denominator in order to subtract. And I do have a common denominator. So if you have a common denominator, then you can go ahead and subtract the numerators. So the denominator is simply 2x squared plus 7x minus 4. And in the numerator, I've got 4x plus 7 minus x minus 5. Be careful that you don't just put the minus sign in front of the x. You're going to have to subtract the entire numerator here. So be careful. So what do we have in the numerator? Distributing that minus sign. 4x plus 7 minus x plus 5 all over 2x squared plus 7x minus 4. And we continue to simplify the numerator by combining like terms. 3x plus 12 over 2x squared plus 7x minus 4. Now you're not done. Now that you've simplified the numerator and denominator after subtracting, you need to factor to see if anything cancels. So let's see. The numerator, there's only 2 terms, so when you have 2 terms, you're basically looking, is there a difference of 2 squares or a common factor? And there's a common factor here, so I'm going to take out the 3 times x plus 4. And I'm going to do the denominator. Now I'm going to think like the author. If x plus 4 is one of the factors, I'm going to guess that that's one of the factors in the denominator. So for my trial factors, I'm going to guess that it's x plus 4 and hope I'm correct. And if it was x plus 4, then to get the 2x squared, that would be 2x. And then 4 times what will give me that negative 4? Minus 1. And then I'm going to see if that really is the correct factorization. 2x squared plus 8x minus x, that's plus 7x minus 4. It worked. And I see I do have a common factor I can cancel out here. So the last step is to write what's left in the numerator and denominator. And there's the answer. All right, go on to the next video for some more problems.